Well, today is an exciting day. We figured out what tomatoes we're going to be growing in the garden next summer, and it's an awesome list. Today we're going to go over them with you and tell you why we ended up picking out the ones that we did.
Now, over the last couple days, I've been totally geeking it out with the seed catalogs, and I even will confess that I went back through our last tomato video where we told you the good and bad of the tomatoes that we grew last year, but then I asked for your guys' advice about what recommendations you have for us to try new tomato varieties this year. And I actually wrote them all down and I put a tally mark by each duplicate, and so some of those are actually going to make it into our picks for this year, so I'm super excited to share with you those new varieties for us.
Now normally we grow about 70 tomato plants for our family. That's about how many it takes to be able to make enough tomato products to get us from one year to a next. That's two 50-foot rows in our garden of just tomatoes. Normally we'll plant all of our paste tomatoes in one row, all of our juice and slicing tomatoes in another row, and then on the ends of each row we'll plant some cherry tomatoes, mostly, you know, just for eating fresh during the summer.
This year, though, we have some exciting news. We are building a whole nother in-ground garden the same size as our original in-ground garden, and so that's going to allow us to expand even more with the tomatoes. So we're going to be adding one more full row, which will give us an extra 35 tomato plants. So what on earth are we going to do with just over 100 tomato plants?
Well, the new row of tomatoes in the new garden is going to be kind of a multi-purpose kind of thing. Mostly they're going to be for us to sell at the farmer's market. In the past years, because we need all of those tomatoes for ourselves, we never really had many tomatoes to sell at the farmer's market. So this year we'll be adding an entire row that are really just to sell. But it's also a place for us to try varieties that we haven't tried before, and that really, you know, it doesn't matter if they don't do real well, because we're not depending on them for our food. So it's a good place to try things and try to see if new varieties will do better than what we're doing in our main garden.
Right, we're also going to be moving the cherry tomatoes, which generally we have on like the outsides of each row, so that when you walk up you can have a little snack before you go to work in the garden. But we're going to be moving those to the new row, the third row, so that the first two rows can be just for what we need.
I think Sarah did that on purpose so that I don't spend so much time just eating cherry tomatoes when we're working in the garden.
Maybe. So part of the third row will be for cherry tomatoes, and then the other will be like a market garden / trial part of the row. We're super excited.
So let's get down to business. We're going to tell you the varieties that we came up with and why we picked the ones that we did.
So let's start with what we're going to be growing for food. Now, like Kevin said, we have one whole row that's just dedicated to like our slicers, which I also use for diced tomatoes in the canning and also tomato juice. We will be doing Jetsetter, which we absolutely love. It's been our rock star tomato plant for the last 2 years at least. Just a fabulous all-around tomato, very solid through, nice and big. It was disease resistant for the most part for us last year.
We've just never had a problem with it.
No, love the Jetsetters. And so that will be half of that row. The other half is going to be Jetsetter. We have heard from a couple of people and have done some reading that the Jetsetter is actually a better version than the Jetsetter, which how can that even be the case?
Right.
So it is fast producing, very disease resistant, and a really good, vigorous, productive tomato. So those are the two kinds, only two kinds that we're going to be raising for diced tomatoes, canned, juicing, fresh eating, slicers, that kind of thing, and probably salsa.
Right. When it comes to our main garden and our food needs for our family, we don't mess around with growing a lot of different varieties. We touched on this in a video that we did a few days ago. We'll leave a link to that video on garden planning. But when we find varieties that we like, that we know grow well and are very prolific, we stick to those varieties and those varieties only because they just provide the most amount of food for us. And that's really what this garden is all about.
Right. Now, the Jetstar and the Jetsetter, they're both hybrid tomatoes. We will be buying those from a company called Totally Tomato. We bought a lot from them last year. We had really good success with them. We also like them because they're a smaller company and they're from Wisconsin, and we kind of, you know, love Wisconsin.
Right. So yeah, we really mainly only get our seeds from two places.
Right.
With very few exceptions. We either get them from Baker Creek, which we love. Anything heirloom comes from Baker Creek,
yes.
No questions asked. And then any hybrids come from Totally Tomato.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to paste tomatoes.
Right.
We rely heavily on paste tomatoes and grow an entire row, 50-foot row. This year will be 35 plants because we use a lot of tomato sauce. We use it in soups and, you know, pasta sauce and those kinds of things.
Pizza sauce.
Pizza sauce, just lots and lots of tomato sauce. Ketchup, paste, you know. So the first paste tomato that we're going to be growing is the same as one that did so well for us last year, and that is called Opalka. That was a nice, big, meaty, held up really well when there was heat, when there was a lot of rain, just overall did really well.
Right.
So we're going to grow those again.
And then we're also going to be trying out one that was highly recommended, has really good reviews, and it's actually a hybrid Roma. In the past, our paste tomatoes, we've always done all heirlooms, but we wanted to give a hybrid paste tomato a try this year. So we're going to be trying out this new hybrid this year. It's called the La Roma 3 Hybrid, and we're excited to try that out and see if it's more disease resistant than some of the heirlooms that we've tried in the past.
Right. Both of these varieties are also from Totally Tomato, but the Opalka is an heirloom. It's not a hybrid.
So this year we've decided to grow 5 different varieties of cherry tomatoes, 3 of which are ones that you guys recommended to us, and so we're going to give those a try this year. But the first one that I want to talk about is one that we grew last year, and I thought was probably my favorite cherry tomato last year, and that was the chocolate cherry. It was just a really good producer. It's a fairly fast variety, about 70 days. The fruits are about 1 inch big. I'm not a big fan of the real small cherry tomatoes. I like kind of the medium-sized cherry tomatoes, and this was right there. And it also seemed like the fruit stayed firm for quite a while after they got ripe. Some of the varieties that we grew last year just seemed like they got ripe and then they got mushy all within like a day or so. And it's just too hard to keep up with all those cherry tomatoes when you have a lot of them planted. So I'm excited to grow the chocolate cherry again this year. The
next 2 cherry tomatoes that we're going to grow this year were recommended by you guys. They're both hybrids. The first one is Sweet Million. And the thing that I really like about them, number one, is that they are ready for harvest in 57 days, which is fantastic.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
And they grow in real long trusses that are going to be absolutely beautiful. We can either pick them individually or we can cut them off, and wouldn't that just be gorgeous presented like that at the farmer's market? The second variety is called Sungold. And it is also ready in 57 days, also in those nice cascading trusses. The nice thing about this one as well is that it says that it holds ripe for a longer amount of time on the vine, which as a market grower is valuable. We don't have to worry so much about how to keep them perfect until we can get them to the farmer's market.
Yeah, we're trying to grow a variety of colors of cherry tomatoes this year. A little piece of information that we've learned from selling at the farmer's market is it's kind of weird. It seems like for normal big tomatoes, people at least in our area at the farmer's market, they want a red tomato. They want a tomato that looks like a tomato. But when it comes to cherry tomatoes, for some reason they're more open to trying different things. So we sell them in a little basket, and we'll have a variety of colors in there. And it seems like for some reason when it comes to cherry tomatoes, they like colors, but when it comes to regular tomatoes, they just want it to look like a tomato. So the next one is another one that was recommended by you guys. It's called the Yellow Pear. It says that it's about an 80-day tomato, so a little bit longer, but that's okay. We like to spread the season out a little bit. Even I have a hard time eating 70 plants worth of tomatoes, so it's okay if it spreads it out a little bit throughout the summer. So the yellow pear is supposed to be about a 1.5 inch fruit. Again, I think it'll be a really good seller at the farmer's market, but you know, I'll have to taste several hundred of them first to make sure they're okay for our customers.
The last variety is Brad's Atomic Grape Cherry Tomato from Baker Creek. The colors on these are just wild. They're more of a grape tomato shape. The flavor apparently is fantastic as well, and it holds the flavor either on or off the vine, which also makes it perfect for the farmer's market. I'm super excited to have that mixed in that basket of cherry tomatoes. I think it will just add a lot of interest, so I'm excited about that. So the last of the tomatoes will fill up the rest of our market garden / trial garden row. We're so excited. We've never grown any of these tomatoes before. The first variety came highly recommended by you viewers and subscribers, and it is the Cherokee Purple Tomato. Never tried it.
No.
We've never even grown a purple tomato, I don't think. So we're excited to give that a try and see how it does at the farmer's market.
So the next one is one that we could have sold probably 1,000 plants of at the farmer's market last year. It seemed like everybody who came by to buy plant starts from us asked for this variety of tomatoes, and we didn't have any. So this year we're growing a bunch of them, and we're also going to put them in the garden to try to sell the tomatoes themselves. It's called Rutgers. It's an heirloom. It's supposed to be a very good all-purpose tomato. So it's good for canning, it's good for eating fresh, it's good for paste. And I guess in this part of the Ozarks, it's just kind of a traditional tomato that's been grown here for a long time, and people really like it, so we're excited to give it a try. I'm assuming if that many people like it, it means that it does really well here in our climate.
Another highly recommended tomato that we're going to be trying is the Amish paste tomato. That tomato is grown by Deep South Homestead. They love it. That's the paste tomato they use. So we're going to try that this year here in Missouri. Now, we did try that one year in Arizona, and it didn't do well at all for us, which is why we haven't grown it again here. So we're excited to see how that does and see how it does at the farmer's market.
Yeah, if it's recommended by Danny and Wanda, then we take that as a good, solid recommendation. We trust the advice that they give for sure.
Yes.
The next one is one that we also just never really grow much of, and that is beefsteak tomatoes. The one that we're going to try is called the American Beefsteak. It's a hybrid. To be honest, our Jet Stars have always gotten almost as big as a beefsteak, so we've just never really taken up the garden space with beefsteak. But we figured since now we have this extra space, we would try a few plants of the beefsteak this year. We do get a lot of requests for them at the farmer's market, so I think it'll be a good seller for us as well.
And the last tomato variety...
And we're going to be making homemade bacon sometime soon, and I think the beefsteak will go perfect on a BLT, so I'm already planning ahead.
Can you tell he's excited? The last variety comes highly recommended by you all as well, and apparently it has a flavor that is just out of this world. It is called the Paul Robeson. It was also highly recommended by Jess from Roots and Refuge, so we're excited to get that in our garden, have you taste it and see what you think, and see how it does at the farmer's market.
Yeah, she told me it's supposed to have a flavor that's out of this world. I said, I'll be the judge of that. So there you go, you guys. Those are the tomatoes that we have settled on for this year. We've gotten a lot of requests from you guys to do this video, so we thought we'd get it out even though it's still fairly early. It's time to start planning. We'll leave a list below of all of the tomatoes that we talked about and where we're going to be getting them from. That way, hey, if you guys want to try growing them along with us, we can see how we all do in different parts of the country or even different parts of the world and see how they do.
So you guys, if you enjoyed this video and if you're enjoying our channel, please take a moment to subscribe. We would appreciate it. Don't forget to check us out on all of our social media, including Instagram. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.